Hi everybody, my name is Dennis and welcome back to another album review. Today we are reviewing the latest record from Weezer entitled OK Human. So I wasn't really sure what I was going to get into with this record, but I didn't really expect to love it, especially considering the streak that Weezer has been on lately. Although I did enjoy the single leading up to this, all my favorite songs, I really wasn't expecting anything from this album. Their past three records have all been anywhere from decent to bad. And just after everything post White Album, it's just been really disappointing, I think. Pacific Daydream is a mess, it's annoying, it's generic, it's just straight up bad, I think. Feels Like Summer, easily one of the worst songs Weezer has ever put out. Then we had the Black Album and the Teal Album, neither of which I thought were that bad. I know, blasphemy, I said Teal wasn't that bad, crucify me, whatever. They were both just okay. Longtime fans may remember that I reviewed the Black Album back when it came out. I give it a decent score. Um, I thought High as a Kite, great song. I Will Die on That Hill, phenomenal track. But other than that, it was just kind of hit or miss. Teal Album, the No Scrubs cover was fun. The No Scrubs cover was so much fun. I think that was a great choice. But again, other than that, hit or miss. They're both just decent albums, neither of which being really amazing. Weezer has definitely been on a cold streak for sure. They've had cold streaks before, especially through the 2000s. Yet they always manage to randomly and unexpectedly bounce back. And you're never going to see it coming, but they always do it. And they sure did it on this record here. Wow, was this a surprise. This thing was just amazing. From really just track after track is just so well produced, so well written. Some of the best songwriting I think Weezer has had since like Pinkerton. It's just really great. Going in from the opening track, All My Favorite Songs, it is a bit cheesier on the songwriting side, but it's also very self-aware, so I definitely have an appreciation for it. Kind of this track just reflecting on like, hey, wait, why am I attracted to all these sad songs? All the depressing songs are the ones that I relate to more. But it's kind of an interesting contrast because this song isn't sad really at all. It's got a bit of a melancholic, orchestral string section to it, but it's still relatively upbeat. It's still pretty fun overall, I think. It ends up being a really good track, I think. It's a great opener and definitely kicks off the themes that this record has going for it, where it's very baroque, it's very orchestral, it's very grand sounding, unlike anything Weezer has ever done before. And I really appreciated seeing this new artistic direction. I will say it does get a little bit samey throughout the track list, even on the tracks that I enjoyed more. I did notice that they stuck to a singular type of formula. They kind of go to a slow opening, builds up, heavy hitting chorus, and then the verses tend to have a catchy rhythm to them. Repeat the chorus a couple times, next track. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, I just wish they had broken up this formula more throughout the record. Again, even on the tracks that I did really enjoy, this formula was very apparent, and I would have liked to see it broken up and deconstructed even more. Because we get that for about the first, about maybe 5 or 6 tracks on here. The following track after All My Favorite Songs, Aloo Gobi, is one that grew on me a lot. When I first listened to the record, I wasn't a huge fan, but it definitely grew on me. I think that these strings are very pretty, they're very elegant. It has a totally different sound to All My Favorite Songs, despite both of them having very similar styles. I also really liked the songwriting of getting just bored with the monotony of everything. Sure, maybe you have fame, you have money, you have success, but it doesn't make life any less monotonous at times, and just feeling sick of doing the same things over and over again. And it's the same old boring routine. We're at the theater, it's another French noir flick. And just kind of getting sick of living in this same pattern and wanting something new. And the chorus on this song is very catchy. One of the catchier choruses on here, I believe. The following track, Grapes of Wrath, is another one that definitely grew on me over time. That's another thing, this album. When I first heard it, I thought it was good, but it really, really started to hit hard after about 3 or 4 listens. It does take a little bit to really sink in and kind of reveal its beauty to you, but it definitely hits hard once it does. Grapes of Wrath is another great track. Again, love the songwriting on here. It has themes of escapism, which we'll get into more later on in the record, but where he's literally just escaping from the real world, listening to the Grapes of Wrath on Audible. I guess sponsored by Audible, I don't know. But he's just listening to Grapes of Wrath, and that's it. That's literally what the song is about. He is shutting out the world, getting rid of all the distractions, and just putting on his headphones, listening to Grapes of Wrath. And there are other books and other allusions to various pieces of literature throughout the song, which I think is nice. It's clever, it's fun, it's witty. It's a fun track. I guess any criticism I have of it, I do wish the very start of the track was more engaging, but it does have a really great build up into an extremely catchy chorus. I mean, it is just impossible to not sing along with this one, I think. The following track, Numbers, is another really great cut. It deals with comparison, where we compare ourselves to each other through these quantitative methods of numbers. And I love how different the applications of the word numbers are here. Whether it be the amount of streams you get, the amount of likes that you get on a picture, all the way down to even your IQ. You say, like, well, your IQ's not high enough to appreciate poetry. Just the way we compare ourselves to others and the really damaging effect that has on us, where numbers are out to get you. You have to be careful because, the numbers will kill you if you let them. If you continually compare yourself to the next person, you're always going to find something that they are better than you at. And if you let that get to you, it will really eat you up. I love the themes of this track. I think it's very, very smart in its writing. And it's one of the best. It's easily some of the best writing I've heard from Weezer since maybe even the Pinkerton era. Playing My Piano is another track about escapism, like I mentioned before, where the entire thing is just him getting lost in the moment of making music. It's another one where we just shut out the world, completely, just take everything down and get lost in this one thing we enjoy, but not in a negative way, in a really positive way, where we just find ourselves at this sort of inner peace with it all. I also thought there were some clever lines on here later on where, he's sitting there playing his piano. He wouldn't even notice if, Kim Jong blew up the country. That's how in the zone, in the moment, he really is. It's a really, really sweet track, and the piano melodies on the chorus are just phenomenal. It is really, really something special on here. There are some transitional periods as well. I do think the first transition from the chorus to the verse is a little bit awkward. But it definitely, grows into itself as this track goes on. It doesn't ruin the track at all for me. It goes from this very luscious, grand, gorgeous piano melody to this somewhat bouncy, somewhat jaunty kind of sounding string section. It works though. It's fun. It's lively. The transition could have been smoother, but it works. The multifaceted nature of it is definitely fun. It's a really, really great track. Screens is another highlight on here for me. The songwriting could have been a bit better, maybe, but the whole thing just stems from this idea of technological addiction, where, I don't really think it's anti-technology, because he doesn't really talk badly about technology as a whole, but just the addiction to it, where it's basically we've uploaded our lives to the cloud, we're living in the clouds, 8 hours a day, just staring at a screen, and just kind of letting the real world die around you because you're staring at the screen. The chords here hit hard. It's a nice change of pace from the rest of the record, which at this point was starting to get a bit samey, especially after the track I forgot to mention, a Mirror Image, which is a very beautiful track, very strong writing there as well. But it's a nice change up that I think the album really needed, or else it would have gotten stale very quickly. But I guess to backtrack a bit, Mirror Image, one of the shorter tracks on here, it's only about a minute and change. And the lyrics just kind of repeat the same line, the same like set of lines over and over again. But gosh, those are some hard-hitting lines. Talking about how she's my mirror image. She shows me who I am. Like we'll be. I think it says something about like being together till we shatter. She helps me understand. Something I don't have the lyrics in front of me, but something along those lines. And like just hearing the passion behind his voice, it's so simple, but it's so powerful. The lines are gorgeously written, and there's so much impact here in such a short period of time. Bird with a Broken Wing and Dead Roses are also very beautiful cuts. Similar to Screens, they do have a much more of a standard Weezer sound to them. They don't have quite the baroque lusciousness that other tracks on here do, but it's a nice change of pace. These two tracks are very mellow, very melancholic. Writing, it's not my favorite on the record, but they're well written tracks. They're really, really great. And both of them have phenomenal choruses. I mean, the hooks here are just top notch. Especially Bird with a Broken Wing, one of the best vocal performances across the entire record, I think. Then we get to the end of the album where I really start to take issue with this record. Up until this point, I've basically had like a minor critique of almost every track on here. It's not a perfect record by any means up to this point, even though I thoroughly enjoyed every single song up to here. There are definitely spots of weakness, but the final two tracks really just don't sit well with me, if I'm being honest. Here Comes the Rain, the opening piano melody I just cannot get the image, like Peanuts, Charlie Brown. It just rings that to mind. I'm not entirely certain why, but I just get that image. It's very, very like sing-along, sing-songy. It's light, it's very happy, but almost so happy that it's kind of sickening. It's not that engaging of a song, I don't think. The songwriting is a bit simplistic, and I just like hear this, and you can imagine, like the kids sing along where the little like ball bounces from word to word as he sings. Especially you get like the splish, splish, splash. No, it's very jarring. I think it's not that great of a cut. It's just too sweet. And the closing track, La Brea Tar Pits, I do love the songwriting on here. I will admit, I think the songwriting on here is very strong. I like the themes of, just kind of slowly reaching this inevitable point where you're slowly sinking in this tar pit, almost reaching, your inevitable death, and trying to, debating whether you grab for help or you just kind of let yourself sink and let nature take its course. It's a very reflective and very interesting cut writing-wise, but the tune just isn't here for me. I don't like the tune all that much. It's not catchy. It's not memorable. The instrumentals aren't nearly as lively or as gorgeous as they are on other tracks. It's just a weak closer, I think. Songwriting-wise, great. I think it sums up some of the themes of this album in a really great way. It works lyrically, just sonically it doesn't do it for me. I don't know, it just doesn't really strike well with me. I don't find it all that catchy or fun or memorable or anything really. But overall, I liked this album quite a bit. Again, I do take issue with very specific moments of certain tracks, like whether it be the intro on Grapes of Wrath, or the transition in playing my piano, or a bit of the songwriting on Screens. There's still a lot here that I love. There's some great build-up. There's some great tension building throughout these tracks. There's sound progression, and it's new direction, and really a great step forward for Weezer in the future. I loved seeing them take this direction. So even though there's very slight nitpicks I have with basically every song on here, I thoroughly enjoyed basically every song. Up until like the closing moments, it was consistently really, really good. And you gotta give props for consistency. So Weezer is sounding better than they have since the White Album. And it's no White Album. I'm gonna say it's no White Album. No, just no. But it's a great album nonetheless. Really like this one. I'm feeling a light 8 on this one. If you listen to it, be sure to tell me what you thought down in the comments below. Tell me how wrong my opinion is as always, and I'll see you in the next review.